I wonder if I could make an entire video just about memes.
My name is Jeff.
Happy New Year! We made it! As you know, the cocoa pandemic officially died out, the planet caught fire, and right now I'm talking to you from my own personal happy place. As you can see, I'm in perfect health and 2020 didn't affect me at all. I hope you enjoyed the supercut of every single film I watched last year, and in this video I want to look at the numbers, I want to look at the stats, I want to make all the numbers rain on all of you as I dance to my eventual death. In 2020 I watched 330 films, and of those ones, 261 were watched for the first time and 69 were actually rewatches, and I think it's a solid split. Most of them came out in 2020 with 83 films, and the next popular year of release is 2019 with 51 films. And of course it makes sense, since I always end up catching up the films from the year before too late. The next one is 2017 with 14 films, close by with 2018 and it's 12 films. Now that's really fun, but I want to go deeper, I want to know more, give me more Excel sheets! As you can see, most of the films I watched were made in the 2010s with 200 films, closely followed by the 2000s with 63 and 28 with the 90s. And actually this year I didn't watch a single film that was made before the 1950s. I don't really know why, or actually I do. It's because I was traumatized during my film studies. I think I will never forget the pain of watching 1924's Thief of Baghdad, which is almost 3 hours long. And of course Abel Ganson's Napoleon, which was more than 5 hours long. I watched 208 of those films on different streaming services and 69 especially just on Netflix. 44 were from my personal DVD collection, and this year was a really bad year for cinemas, as you can imagine, and I watched only 7 films at the cinema. But it's not the lowest of the criterias. The lowest is TV. I watched 1 film on TV this year because it was on Christmas Eve, and the Italians happened to broadcast it. Surprising no one, most of the films were made by America, with 213 films. This is followed by a tie between American co-productions with other countries and British films with 22 films, followed by France with 20 films and South Korea with 19. Every year I try to watch more diverse films, but it's interesting to see that it's The next category really surprised me since it's genres of all the films I watched. I thought it was gonna be just horror everywhere.
Fix on this motherfucker!
But my most popular genre was actually comedy with 62 films, and it makes sense since it was a really sad year. And I'm not gonna put any memes here, just cry.
Bonjour, nous sommes vendredi et je voulais m'adresser à vous parce que comme vous le savez, depuis hier matin j'ai été testé positif à la Covid-19.
This is followed by a drama with 56 films and horror with 50 films. I'm gonna flash the rest of the categories really fast on screen, so try not to blink. Did you get it? Should I do it again? My least popular genres are important to mention because they're both my favorite and most hated genres. Stop motion animation and westerns. And it makes sense why they're so low. Stop motion animation is incredible, super expensive and time consuming to make, and no one wants to do it. And Pew Pew killing Native Americans makes me sad. This year was a weird year when it came to film releases, so I decided not to separate 2020 from all the other years. But next year I will be separating it from the rest so that we can get a better idea of how much original content we're actually getting. But of 330 films that I watched, 171 were purely original concepts. 78 were based on novels, comic books or plays, 58 were sequels, and 23 were remakes, reboots or whatever the fuck Terminator Genesis was.
I'll be back.
What?
It's still interesting to see that original concepts won 171 to 159. So to all the people who always say, "Oh my god, Hollywood, stop it, I'm making new stuff," you can shut up and watch more films. Other thing I looked into was, what was my most watched animation studio? DreamWorks won, surprisingly, with 5 films, followed by Studio Ghibli with 4, and I'm so happy to say that Walt Disney Pictures tied with OLM Studio with 3 films each, and OLM made most of the Pokemon films.
Oh, hi, honey.
Are you changing your underwear every day?
Yes?
I won't let you talk about yourself that way.
And yes, to answer your question, I like my coffee without sugar. Now, let's finally look at the most important category. Let's be honest, this is why you're here. This is how I rank the Land Before Time 14 films.
Patrick, can you shut the fuck up?
Who are my most watched directors of 2020? The absolute winners are David Yates and P.T. Jackson, with respectively 5 and 7 films. I mean, I think they don't really count since I rewatch Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings every year, so the absolute winners are Miyazaki, Sam Raimi, Park Chan-wook, Kim Ji-woon, Sam Mendes, Xavier Dolan, John Glenn, and Mark Webb with 3 films each. Fun and interesting, right?
No.
So here comes my actual favorite category of research, and this is the kind of work I want to expand upon in the next few years, and in this kind of video. Diversity when it comes to directors and position of power in the film industry. The categories I chose are reductive, of course, and this was my preliminary research because it's something that I've never looked at. When it comes to Black ethnicity, it could be divided in Afro-American, North, South African, Black European, Black Latino, Black Asian, or even beyond that into other cultural criteria like Black Christian and Black Muslim. Or for example, I chose the word Latino because in Europe, Spanish and Portuguese speaking people are considered to be white, especially since they are themselves colonizers. So Latino will include people from Central and South America in this category. Having said that, these are the results. Among 330 films, 244 were made by white men. This is followed by 36 made by Asian men, 23 made by white women, and 8 were co-directed between the white men and women. The next categories are more sad, so I'll make sure to name each and one of them and to give them a shout out. 7 films were directed by black men: Deon Taylor, Adil and Bilall, Ladj, Stefon Bristol, Raoul Peck, Remi Weeks, and Spike Lee. 5 films were directed by Latino men: Fernando Meirelles, Alfonso Cuaron, Adierley Queiros, Alejandro Jodorowsky, and Oz Rodriguez. 4 were directed by Asian women: Alma Har'El, Cathy twice because I watched Birds of Prey twice, and Alice Wu. 4 were directed by black women: Melina Matsoukas, Gina Prince-Bythewood, Maimouna Dee Rees. And 0 were made by Latino women. The weird thing that I also noticed is that all of the Korean films that I watched were made by men. So next year I'll definitely be looking for more Korean female directors. Of course, the results make me quite sad, and I'll make sure to credit all the directors in the description so you can check out their films. All of these numbers were drawn from my own cinematic experience in 2020. So of course, we can't really establish any kind of objective truth. I didn't make an effort to specifically watch films directed by white men, but it's clear that it's the norm. And I think that's why I wanted to do this video, because films have a lot of things to teach us, diegetically and emotionally speaking. But they can teach us even more if we can take a step back, look at the patterns, and identify the problems with our industry and our way of consuming cinema. Next year I want to go even deeper into representation issues. For example, I'd like to look at how many animated characters have been voiced by people of a different ethnicity, or I want to look at how many cis-straight actors/actresses have played LGBTQ+ characters in films. There are so many more categories I want to look at. I want to look at writers, cinematographers, actors, and actresses. I want to look at how many directorial debuts I watch per year, since I find that it's quite important to help out new talent to get discovered. I want to look at how many directors I discover every year. This year, for example, it was Céline Sciamma's films and Kelly Richards. I want to make more of these videos year after year and find out if I can chart my way around the films that I rewatch and the period that I rewatch them in. Maybe we might be able to find some interesting patterns that help us grow together. Having said that, I hope you liked this video. Leave a like and subscribe to see more. Leave a comment with the directors that you discovered this year. See you next Wednesday. I'm Patrick, and this is Torn Apart.